For decades, we've pretty much all seen France as this solid, unshakable pillar of the European project. But what if that pillar is actually cracking? Today, we're digging into a really alarming possibility that Europe's second biggest economy isn't a source of strength anymore, but maybe its greatest threat. So let's just get right to it. The big question of this whole explainer. Is it actually possible for one single country to bring down a currency as huge as the euro? Well, the numbers coming out of Paris are suggesting that we need to take this question very, very seriously. Okay, first, let's just try to get our heads around the scale of the problem. This is France's national debt, over 3 trillion euros. It's a number that's so massive it's honestly hard to even imagine, and it keeps growing. It's creating what you might call a potential black hole for the entire Eurozone. But that massive number? That's only half the story. The real alarm bell is this. France's debt is now over 112% of its entire yearly economic output. To put it simply, the country owes way more than it produces in a whole year. And that, my friends, is a classic red flag for any economy. And if you're wondering where all that debt is coming from, well, look at this. A jaw-dropping 57% of France's GDP gets eaten up by public spending. That's the highest percentage in the entire developed world. And this isn't funding some massive growth spurt. It's funding a welfare state on a credit card. And that model is hitting a wall. So, how in the world did we get here? To really get the danger, we have to rewind a bit, back to the very foundation of the euro itself. It turns out that foundation was built on a promise of financial discipline that is now being completely shattered. You see, the euro was always this unique, ambitious experiment. The best way to think about it is like a house. You've got one single roof, that's the currency, but it's held up by all these different columns, which are the national economies. Now, a house like that can only work if every single major column stays strong. But what happens when a core column, a huge one like France, starts to crumble? The first really big crack showed up back in 2010 with Greece. That crisis was terrifying, for sure, but it was containable because, at the end of the day, Greece was a pretty small part of the economy. What we're seeing today is a whole different level of danger. The problem is no longer on the fringes of the Eurozone, it's right at its very heart. All right, so let's zoom in on what's really going on in Paris. We're not just talking about some temporary budget shortfall here. No, we're talking about a deep, structural rot inside the French economic model itself. And that's what makes this threat so much more dangerous than anything Europe has ever faced before. Analysts have started using this really powerful phrase, the sick man of Europe. It's a metaphor that describes an economy that's become fundamentally unhealthy, one that's funding its lifestyle with more and more debt instead of actually producing things and growing. And this right here is exactly why this is not just Greece 2.0. Greece had a cash flow problem, a liquidity crisis in a small economy on the edge. What France represents is a potential structural collapse in a core pillar of the global financial system. The risk of the problem spreading isn't just European, it's worldwide. And the symptoms? They're crystal clear. This isn't just a short-term cold. It's a chronic disease. We're talking decades of budget deficits, broken promises to fix things, inflexible markets, and a society that fights tooth and nail against any real change. All of this has led to an economy that consistently buys way more than it sells. Now, this internal rot is causing a major external breakdown. This isn't just France's problem anymore. Its sickness is causing the single most important alliance in all of Europe to just fall apart. The one partnership that has been the engine of this whole project for over 60 years. The Franco-German engine. For decades, this has been the beating heart of the EU. You had German economic discipline combined with French political ambition. But right now, that engine is sputtering, and it's threatening to stall the entire European project. And here's the reason why. The two countries are now running on completely opposite philosophies. Germany is all about fiscal discipline, with its strict debt brake. France, on the other hand, is all about welfare funded by debt. So Berlin looks at Paris and sees recklessness. Paris looks at Berlin and sees selfishness. It's like a silent divorce happening right before our eyes. And this is where it gets really, really scary. There are leaked reports showing that Germany is no longer focused on how to save France, but on how to save itself from France. They're actually drawing up contingency plans. That's a huge sign that the trust between the EU's two most critical partners has completely collapsed. This whole breakdown puts the European Central Bank, the folks whose entire job is to protect the euro, in a truly terrible spot.
They are facing a dilemma where, honestly, every single option they have leads to a disaster.
The ECB is completely trapped. I mean, think about it. If they start printing money to buy up French bonds, they cause massive inflation for everyone and make the euro weaker. But if they do nothing, they risk a total market panic that could cause a Lehman Brothers-style collapse, starting in Paris and spreading everywhere. This is why that black hole analogy from earlier is so perfect. France's problems are now so huge that they are literally starting to pull in and destroy the market's confidence in the entire euro project. Now, I know this can all feel like some distant problem about high finance and politics, but the shockwave from this crisis has a direct path to your wallet. Let's break down exactly how this could actually affect you. The risks to your savings are very real, and they come from a few different directions. First, the actual value of your euros could just plummet. Second, the cost of anything you buy from outside Europe could skyrocket. Then, governments might have to slap on new taxes to pay for the mess. And then there's the worst-case scenario, capital controls, where the government could literally limit how much of your own money you can take out of the bank. The real-world result is that the euro could go from being a safe currency to a high-risk one. Your savings, your pension, your salary, all of it would buy less. And we have to remember what happened in Greece and Cyprus. This isn't just a theory. People woke up one day and found their life savings were literally frozen in their bank accounts. And all of this leaves us with one final and frankly chilling question. The euro was designed to be a fortress, and France was supposed to be one of its strongest guardians. But as its own economic foundation crumbles, you have to ask, is one of the euro's chief architects about to become its ultimate destroyer?